Hello everyone and welcome to my hobby home. My name is Cathy. Thank you so much for joining me today here on my channel. We are trying out another scrappy block for our sew along. This one here, I just stumbled across it. It is called Grandma's Scrappy Quilt. It is designed by Sherri McConnell of AQuiltingLife. This is a free pattern. It is out there on a website. I will find it and put the link down in the description for you. This quilt, you have two options for one of the blocks. This one here is going to use what I'm calling a block is using 9 individual squares. One of those squares is I think it's called a 9 patch. And you have the option of having individual squares or doing strips and then cutting them down. I'm going to do the strips and then cut them down. So the first thing, since I'm only making one unit, I only need 4 squares for my corner pieces, and then 2 squares of 2 separate pieces, a light and a dark, and those squares need to be cut into 4 pieces. So I only needed 2 of each color to complete this one block. So what I'm going to do just to start off is to make my light and dark blocks. This is called an hourglass block. And what we will do is we will take a light and then a dark. I'm just putting my 2 lights there and then my 2 darks. I'm using this color as my dark. And these are all out of my scrap collection, or fat quarter collections too. I think one of them was a fat quarter. That was just a stray fat quarter. But, so this is going to be an hourglass. And I'm just going to start by sewing these together. I'm going to turn it so I know the right hand side is the one I need to sew. And we will make 4 blocks like this. Now, as I said, this is a free pattern. It is out there on the web, free. You can print this down. I will tell you in the description the pattern and where you can find it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm scooting. I got to get over here close to my foot pedal. Now, there is a neat little story behind this quilt. Apparently, I believe Sherri is the one that found it. This was a quilt top of her grandmother's that she found. And she had the top quilted and gave it to her mother, but then kind of replicated the pattern of the quilt to make one for herself. And this is the actual quilt. Now, this pattern does seem like something my grandmother would make. My grandmother, she all the time used scrappy pieces of fabric to make quilts. So, you know, I mean, it was nothing unusual for us to have a quilt made out of 10 different fabrics. But she made garments, and then fabric left over from those garments was made into quilts. Or clothes were wore out, and she cut those clothes up, and parts of them that was still good, she made quilts. I'm trying to make sure I keep these together and that I'm doing the right side. But what we're doing is making a total of 4 of these blocks. So pretty much what we should know is we got a backwards L and we're sewing on that line. If this fabric is on top, it's a backwards L. Well, it's always going to be a backwards L. Okay. We're going to put those together. We've got a backwards L. We're going to sew on that back side of the backwards L. I'm going to make sure to keep the pink on top. I know the first one I sewed was not pink on top or red on top, but I'm making sure the rest of them are, because that way I know they're right. I hope they're right. So after I get these done, what I will do is piece the 2 of them together to make a square. And I think I then need to trim the square because some of these pieces are not the same size. I thought they were all the same size, but it looks like some of them aren't quite. But it is a test block. Not that I'm not going to try to do my best even on my test block. Okay, so now I have each of these units done. So what I'm going to do is put 2 of them together, nest the seams, and then sew straight across to make our, what do they call it? Hourglass blocks. And yeah, there are some exciting things coming up in July also. For the first, we have a sew along, and that is what we are trying this block out for, is that sew along, to see if we think we may want to do this block or another block. So I think this will be block number 4 for us. I think we had that first one that was just a scrappy, you throw it together and really not a pattern. But then we had Robert Kaufman's Silverstone. Then I had another Robert Kaufman Lavender Fields. And now we have Sherri McConnell Grandma's Scrap Quilt. I'm so happy I came across this one though, because it is so pretty. And I like the colors I chose to go with it, because I have a big piece of stitched. This right here was what I used to back that my Starly quilt. I couldn't think of what it's called, and that's just some of the fabric that was left over. And because when I get my quilts back from the long arm, they do not trim the quilt. They leave all of that on there for me to do it, because a lot of times there's enough left that if I want to do the self-binding quilt, you know, and just use that's left on there and make a bind out of it, I can. But normally I don't. Normally I trim it off. And oh, I don't know why I'm cutting these off. normally I trim it off and put it over here in my scrap pile to, you know, use up on something else. A lot of times I have actually kept some and trimmed it up to use as binding on another quilt. Because a lot of times it is enough to do that with. And hey, I don't mind using it. I paid for that fabric. I might as well get all the use I can out of it. Use every little bit, every little square I can. It's like when I was cutting this, I miscut my first piece. I cut it too small. So what I did, I just put those pieces in my scrap bin, because if I make a string quilt, just a very scrappy string quilt, I'll have those pieces in there that I can trim down, cut down, you know, and make some strips out of it. And guys, I'm going to tell you, I still have not made my quilt labels. And my quilt label has not come in yet either for that other quilt that I was making. So I'm going to have to contact them and see what the deal is. Because I had to send a picture, and I don't know if the picture wasn't good enough quality, because I had to scan an old photo. And sometimes those don't work real well. Because I used to sublimate, and I know how, and I still sublimate, but I just haven't done it in easily a year or longer. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take these squares, or these, yeah, they're squares, it's not a block yet, and I'm going to press them and then trim them down, and I will be right back. Okay, I now have my 4 blocks, or squares, that I will need to make this one block. So I have two pieces that are done for my block. The next thing I will need to do is take my 2.5-inch square, or 2 jelly roll strips, or 3 jelly roll strips. But I'll start with 2. And what I will do is attach 2 of them together. I just cut this one in half because I'm not going to need that many. I say we want our little houses to be straight, but that's really not going to matter, because I'm going to put a strip on the other side as well, so whichever direction. Now, the large fabric that I'm using, that large solid square, that's from the Stitched line, and these jelly roll strips are from Christmas Stitched. So the colors are kind of similar in them. So I thought those would kind of go good together. So we're just getting these jelly roll strips done together. And as I'm sitting here sewing, I'm thinking, you know, I just watched a video, or a YouTube video, from Chiara Osborne. She is another quilter. Now, she does some great stuff. She's also a cross stitcher. And what I was watching was one of her floss tubes, which is her cross stitching. And she was talking about Christmas in July. And I thought, I do Christmas all year long. I love Christmas. Part of this fabric that I'm using is Christmas. But I'm doing the piece of cake in Christmas fabric. So that one is Christmas. And I hope to have that one completed for the long arm. Hopefully this week sometime. I have not yet been able to get on my pressed flowers because I want to get my brown bag mystery quilt done first, because I already have everything cut out to do it. So it just makes sense to go on and get that one done first. I actually decided to press up and down to the tan. It was just easier. So now what I will do with this strip is cut this down into 2.5 inch segments. It looks like I need to do 2 reds and then one, but I don't know that I have another red. So let me just check and see. I may be able to take the red I have left and cut it in half, because I'm not going to need that many of these. I'm only going to need one. So what I'll do is I'll just cut 2 out, and I'll cut a strip and turn it into what I need it to be. Okay, I have these done, and I've taken a cream off of this end. So I have this cream, and I took the red off of another strip, and I'm just going to make that alternating strip. Now, being scrappy, you could do this any way you wanted to. So now we have that third strip, and we only have one of these per block. So what we are going to do is go ahead and pin this, because it does nest very well. It doesn't mean that it's going to come out how it's supposed to. Even though I nested it, it still may not come out how it's supposed to. And if it don't, y'all, don't get stressed. I'm telling you, don't get stressed. This is supposed to be fun and relaxing, and nobody's gonna know. There may be quilt police online, but there's no quilt police in your house. And there are a lot of quilt police online, just so you know. I have dealt with quite a few of them. And now we're going to take this piece and add our last piece. Over here, we're going to pin this on. And y'all, this is going by really, really quick. It's taken me a little longer because I'm doing one block, and I'm having to try to figure out how to do the one block, because I know if I was doing the quilt, I would be doing, in one section, I'd be doing 71 blocks at a time. So that would go maybe not faster, because I'm making 71 blocks, but I wouldn't have to figure out how to do it. I would just follow the instructions on how to do it for the whole quilt. So we are getting this little block done, and we're just about to assembling our total block. Y'all, this is funny. My fabric has little houses on it. I know you probably can't see it, but they're all in the correct direction. That was not intentional. So this is the centerpiece of our block. But what we will do is we will start by rows. And we will take one of our solid squares, and we will put, I'm calling this the dark and this the light. We will put the dark on my sides on this, and we will assemble these two pieces together. I'm making sure I'm lined up on the edge all the way down. And I'm just letting that machine pull my fabric through. Okay. So I'm going to go on and do the two, like the first two blocks of each row. The next row, we have the dark on the top and the bottom. That's our first block. And our second block is our little houses. So we will put these together and get them here and assemble those two together. Making sure all of my seams are even here. And I really do appreciate everybody coming and chit-chatting with me here today. We are just sewing, just sewing. Now our reds are going to be on the sides again because it kind of alternates. Okay, so now we have our first two blocks of each row done. So now what we're going to do is go in and add that third block, third square on, which the top row is going to be another solid. And I completely forgot to trim down that very center block to the same size as the other blocks. So I may have to get creative there. But hopefully it won't be too bad and we can find a way to make it work. So now we have, this is our second row, and we have to remember the reds go to top and bottom. And here's the last one. And we are sewing that square on. And after we get this done, I will press and then we will assemble the 3 rows together. Okay, now I have my 3 rows, and what we need to do is put the first two rows together. And I am going to make sure my houses are turned right, but it doesn't matter because I could always turn it the other way and the houses will still be upright. Okay, I'm flipping that, and I am, oh Lord, this may make a big difference right here. I am going to nest these seams and pin them. And as long as I'm pinning and nesting these seams and they match up when I sew, everything in between should match up too. Oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I did kind of take a little of that slack up when I just sewed that third piece on. And we are getting our square done here. I've got to see where that, okay. Had to see where that edge was there. Just to make sure I have it on that 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to I probably state this in just about every video, and if I don't, I should. This is not a tutorial. I am not the person to be teaching anything, because my points don't come together. I mean, normal quilter things that happen, you know. But, you know, a quilt is like your child or your children. They're not perfect, but you still love them anyway. I love my quilts. My daughter-in-law, she actually pulled one of my quilts out yesterday because right now my house is kind of, well, it's freezer temps. I'm not going to fib about it. My house is freezer temps because I've been running my freeze dryer, and it kind of heats up the room that it's in, and I have to keep that door closed. Oh, y'all, this is so pretty. Okay, so now we're going to put our third row on. I'm going to nest it, and y'all probably know this, but both of the main lines that I'm using, the green, this one here, these were spare parts that I had, but the others, they both came from Fig Tree & Company's stitch line. One was Christmas stitched and one was stitched. I love Fig Tree & Company. I love their fabrics. They're beautiful. Like this right here, I can make 10 quilts out of that and still find more ways to do it. I love their fabrics. And thinking about that, y'all are going to see this in an update before you actually see this video, because I am recording this before Sunday. I like to get a lot of sewing done and a lot of videos done on the weekend, so during the week I can kind of work on bigger things, and maybe not necessarily record. But right now what I'm using my week for is trying to get my house back in order. I have done a little bit, but it seems that I've messed my knee up again, and I'm having to be very careful on it. I can get a little bit done, but once I feel that twinge in my knee, and I'm beginning to think this is not the meniscus, that this must be like a muscle or something that's strained or something. I don't know what it is, but I know it still hurts. And like, I can get up in the morning, it not bother me at all, and I can step the wrong way, and I know it. I know I've stepped the wrong way, because it definitely sends a shooting pain. And so I have to be very careful. So I'm doing only a little bitty bit at a time on my house, because my daughter-in-law and I went shopping, and I was pushing a cart, and all of a sudden I felt that twinge in my knee, and then I had a sharp pain in the back of my knee. So I know I have to be very, very careful. And cleaning house, I'm not very careful. I try to do a lot of things where I can sit down and do it. Like right now I'm going through boxes, still going through things and getting rid of items, whether it be donation or garbage. I'm donating it all somewhere. It's either donated to the dump or donated to an organization. But it's going to be out of my house. And the whole point of me telling you that is because Our Fat Quarter Shop Sew Sampler box is supposed to be coming out soon. I have not seen anyone release one yet. But I was looking at the Jolly Jabber, and one of the clues was about canning. And I don't know if it's what it is. I saw some people put Corey Yoder, but I'm like, that's a Fig Tree and Company. So I put Jam and Jelly, or Jelly and Jam. I can't remember. But y'all, that's a new line, and I really want to see that. I hope that's in our box. Ooh, that would be nice, y'all, because then I'll have something else that is Fig Tree and Company, because that little quilt right there is Fig Tree and Company. That white with the red right there, that's my Starly quilt, and that was made with Fig Tree and Company stitch. But look at this, guys. That is beautiful. That's a big block too. But that is very, very cute, very pretty. So this is another possibility for our scrappy quilt. Now, when I think of scraps, I don't think that people's going to have pieces this size. But yet, this is in my scrap bin. So, I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. I do appreciate y'all coming and chit-chatting with me, even though I'm the chit-chatter and y'all are just listening. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you coming by. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. If you've watched all of my Smash the Stash test blocks, tell me which one you like the best so far. There may be one more coming out. I'm still looking for that other pattern. And July 1, I will release the name of the pattern that we're going to go with. And that will be our sew along. And we can sew July and August. And the last day of August will be when I need you to have your photos submitted, because I will be doing a giveaway. I will have someone looking at all the photos. And it's going to be judged on the pattern, because we all know the pattern is the given. Your usage of color and your scrappy stuff and how you make it all come together, that's what we're going to just kind of go off of. So, but yeah, if y'all are interested in doing it, I will have a Facebook page created before July 1. I will have all of this information going into the Facebook page, but this will be my normal My Hobby Home Facebook page, where I will be putting things out there pretty regularly for you to see if you're part of the Facebook group, and for you to be putting things in there too. I will have it set to where the Facebook page will be moderated, and anything you post will have to be approved, because I've been receiving some rather questionable things lately. And I've been receiving some rather questionable comments that actually don't post. I do have my comments, I don't know what to call it, like self-moderated. If it's anything questionable, it's going to go into a thing for me to review it. I'll get a notice that I need to review a comment, and I can either review it and accept it or decline it, and that I block it. And I've been receiving quite a few here lately that I've needed to block. Now, that's not to say if somebody has an opinion different than mine that I'm going to block it, because I'm not. This is a free country where we can discuss things. We're adults. It's okay. If you're a content creator, you may know what I mean, but I have it set up to where it is moderated. So, just so y'all know, my Facebook page will also be like that, and I will have to review every single comment that goes out there. So if it don't show up immediately, it is okay. I will get to it. I do work a 10-hour day, Monday through Thursday. So during those times, I'm not normally able to review things, but know that I will look at it. But guys, this is our, fourth block that we are looking at here. And this is Grandma's Scrap Quilt. Very, very pretty. That would make a big quilt fast. So, thank you so much, guys. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. And as always, until I see you again, have a very blessed day. Goodbye.